No, it's just to be able to put into words like all that one feels. Sometimes it can be challenging because, you want to share the totality of it.
Right. But
when you haven't fully felt the totality of it, it's hard to share that. It's like, I can give you one ingredient to make that cake. Okay, there's eggs.
Right.
But if somebody thinks all they need is eggs, they're not going to get that.
You're already doing a great job.
I'm just talking to you.
I know. All right. 3, 2,
that's the stuff.
1. Welcome to Augmented. Oh yeah. See, I don't think I'll do it now ever again.
No. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Welcome to Augmented Teachings, where we'll talk about the things that'll inspire us to think better, feel better, and in turn be better. I'm your host, Todd Michael Jackson, and I'm here with my co-host, Brandi Pagano. How you doing, Brandi?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. We're back here again, and we're gonna have a little fun. We're gonna talk about some meanings for us and how we interpret them. Because not all people interpret things the same way, and we have very unique interpretations of certain things that are special for us.
Right.
And I already kind of previewed you a little bit on what one of them was. And one of them was, how do you love God with all your heart?
Well, there's so many ways to love God. And first, I think it comes from a person's individual interpretation of God. Because sometimes people think that there's a God outside of them, separate from them, and they have to be a certain way and to act a certain way in order to show God that they love them.
Right.
My belief is that I am a part of God, and God is a part of me, and I'm never separate from God, so therefore I am.
Yes.
So the more I tap into that, knowing that I am God and I are one, the more I love myself, the more I love God.
Right. I can appreciate that. I have the same similar idea from my studies of NDEs. Our souls are direct representations of God.
Yes.
Period. So how I choose to love God is, first of all, loving myself. When you learn to love yourself first, it makes it much easier to learn and to reciprocate love to others.
Absolutely.
And I know that when we go back home to heaven, the only thing that matters when we return from earth back home is how we treated others. And the better we treat each other, the more love we're actually showing God, because we're developing our souls to learn and adhere to the idea of love itself.
Well, and because the more love that we add to ourselves and we add to others, the more love there is.
Right.
So some people, think, oh, well, if I give this love, quote unquote, away, I'm not going to have anything. I'm not going to have enough.
Right.
But it's infinite.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Love and joy is the only thing that multiplies when it's shared.
Yeah, absolutely. So the more love I give, the more I actually have, because now I've multiplied that from my God vessel into somebody else's God vessel. So now that's multiplying and sharing, and then plus one. And the more people can feel that.
Right. I understand. Yeah. And you'll find that as you give love of yourself, an acknowledgement of love to others, you will find that it reciprocates back to you.
Of course.
And then sometimes it doesn't. And that's when you have to realize, okay, well, you can keep trying, you may, but that's not where it's not going to come back. And you have to make a decision on where you want to spend it the most.
Well, and I can look at it from another perspective, that every relationship, no matter the type of relationship in our life, it could be romantic, it could be non, it's a mirror. It's a mirror to who we are.
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, what we give out does come back to us in some form or another. And you say eventually. Right?
Eventually. It does. But sometimes it can be very disheartening when you give of yourself again and again, and you don't return it. It doesn't return back to you. And sometimes there's a void within people that don't realize that when they give that love back, they're actually showing love for God. Right. Because the God in you greets the God in me, and vice versa, which is namaste.
Absolutely.
Right. And a lot of the Eastern traditions already knew this. You know, they weren't stuck in materialism. They actually sat down and thought about it and went into different types of being, states of being,
right,
to get there.
States of consciousness.
Yes. And to meditate, you know, and understanding how it works from being based here on earth. It can be very difficult, but when you give enough time, enough effort, you can find out that we are actually pieces of God. And it's reaffirmed with people that have died and come back and near-death experiences. They've all said the same thing, that we are literally pieces of God here as like feelers for God, learning love and having experiences and taking those back home.
Right. We are experiencing for God.
Right. God's the creator. We are the experiencer. And whenever you show love to another human, you are showing love to God. And I think a lot of times in society we forget those things because there's so many people trying to make us forget that by throwing stones, making money off that, and calling it a day.
But guess what?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are helping to remind people who they are.
That's right. And that's what we're here.
Who we all are.
To try to help people figure out that we're here to raise our vibration and learn what love is, what unconditional love is. Because when we get back home and you realize, oh, God was a notion of unconditional love, and you didn't learn unconditional love here, you're not going to feel as comfortable as you could be if you had learned it here instead of realizing it too late when you get back home. Because a lot of people think that heaven is just one place of goodness, and it is in a place of goodness, of unbelievable joy and happiness. But there's infinite levels of heaven. They've talked about that many times with near-death experiences where people of lower vibration won't ascend to higher vibrations. They can go there if they wish, but they're not comfortable there. So they go to the vibration that makes them feel most comfortable. Birds of a feather flock together here. Birds of a feather flock together there. So you'll have people of higher vibration. You'll have, you know, Buddhist monks and people that have learned compassion and empathy to the nth degree, hanging out with each other and just spreading that love and joy with each other. And you have people that have not learned love and joy, hanging out with themselves, you know, in lower vibrations. The lower vibration of heaven. Yes. They still feel God's love, but they aren't able to experience it the way people of the higher vibration can. Right. So those lower vibrations will usually ask to come back so they can ascend to a higher vibration when they actually return back home after a few more lifetimes. And there's some of us that talk about those levels, you know, you're talking about those levels, and some of us talk about those are different dimensions. Yes. Yeah, there are different dimensions. And as the way it's been explained to me is God's ocean is so big that all dimensions fit within it. Yes. Right. So that you can go, it's also explained to me another way too. Here we have Earth, we have the 3D dimension here. And then on the other side of the veil, it's all dimensions. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. It's all. Right. It's one and then all. And that's pretty amazing because we can go anywhere we want and do anything we want. But we choose to come here so we can learn faster. We can learn unconditional love faster. And I really feel that when people understand that that is the main goal is to learn unconditional love. And you actually set the rest of your life. And just knowing that, it'll change the trajectory of your life. Absolutely. That is one of the golden keys. Is it? I didn't know that. What is the golden? Really? To me. Yes. For my interpretation. Yes. Because once you know that, then you can unlock that part of you. Right. And then a whole new world opens up. Sweet. That's amazing. Yeah. You can literally change the whole trajectory of your life if you just know that that is the purpose of being here, is to raise your vibration, become a more beautiful gem for God, making your soul more beautiful for God. And I think ultimately that's what Jesus taught. It is. It is. And I get so stuck on where religion has gone. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's not what Jesus said at all. None of these things.
Right.
And it's like...
It's a misinterpretation.
And it's really important that as I move away from religion, I actually move closer to the teachings of Jesus. Mm-hmm. Because...
Me too, absolutely.
It's really astonishing how the teachings of Jesus line up with near-death experience testimonies. And I'm like, it's tit for tat. They go perfectly down the line. But most Christians we have to worship Jesus. We worship Jesus when we get to heaven. It's like, no, you have to emulate Jesus so that you can find and unlock the love within yourself and bring it out and share it with the world. And then that is a beautiful gift for God.
And that's why I'm so grateful that Jesus has been one of the master teachers.
Yes.
There are many master teachers.
Yes, there isn't just one. There
many. Isn't just one. Just like there are all paths,
right,
to that one truth.
Right.
And Jesus was one teacher, a master teacher, yes.
Master teacher, yes.
But there are other ways of gaining that wisdom.
Right. And I think when we look at the philosophies of the world, there's one that really teaches you and breaks down how to overcome a lot of our human dysfunctionalities, and that's Buddhism. Mm-hmm. Teaches you how to overcome materialism, teaches you how to overcome judgment, teaches you how to love yourself. Overcoming
suffering.
Yes, suffering.
Challenges.
And all these. And that's one, and it's funny because early forms of Christianity were actually very much like Buddhism until the centralized church decided to take what it wanted and just discard the rest. And it makes things difficult because now we have to go back and fix those issues that a few people from the church decided to do a long time ago. But with this new cycle that has started, it's gonna be much easier to do now. The information's there, but it just has to coalesce into something beautiful and brilliant and bring people together. So religions have split people apart for so long and killed in the name of God for so long. And now we're coming together as a society and saying, you know what? Maybe we should find another interpretation for God because this one is not working for us as a society.
Right.
And, or for humanity. For what it's worth. It doesn't work in a lot of areas. Not to say that it can't, but right now it's not.
Well, I think, that's why there are many of us that really strive to co-create a world that works for everyone because we are all part of that collective consciousness.
Right.
And so what's right for me might not necessarily be right for you. And that's why I was saying that's one of the golden keys. There are many, many, many keys to unlocking that truth for that individual through their perspective.
Right. And down here is there's like a trick. Everything thinks it's I and me, and we're not connected any way, shape, or form because I'm in this body, you're in that body, but when they get back home, they realize there was no I and me. There's only us and we. When we get that mentality here, it's us and we start working for the collective. Mm-hmm. And we start being more altruistic. Mm-hmm. And we start putting the needs of others at the same level or even a little higher than our own. Mm-hmm. We still take care of ourselves, but we put more and more effort into helping others. And we have less of a me mentality, and we have more of a we mentality. And a lot of people on the right will say, that's socialism. No, altruism is not socialism. It is an act of God.
That's so beautiful. And it's really, really beautiful to be witness to more of that happening.
Yes.
More people coming together.
Yes.
Listening to things like this, mm-hmm. opening their mind, being willing to see things from a different perspective, or how do I want to put this? Like driving that belief even further.
Yeah.
With having conversations like this.
Having conversations and opening your mind to that together we can make anything happen. Mm-hmm. And we can make God on earth a reality.
Well, in my perspective, I have been able to do just that.
Yes, you have. You have.
Bringing that heaven right here. Because I believe that this is heaven.
It is.
We are all living in heaven on earth, but we're living in different realities. We're living in different dimensions, but we're all coexisting in the same life school right now.
And I think a lot of it, and if some of us just learn to change the perspective mm-hmm. of who we are and how we interact with people, it changes our whole outlook on life. And I think that's what one of the things Jesus was trying to show us, is that if you just learn acceptance and love for everybody, and you try to have an open enough mind to accept them for who they are, no matter what that is, then you find acceptance of yourself.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
So, we have different ideas of what spirituality is or are, right? Mm-hmm. And I see spirituality very simply because I'm mechanical, right? I look at things from somebody that, is blue collar, okay, right? We'll say. And my whole idea of what spirituality is, for me, is in simplistic form, right? Okay. Is a one-on-one relationship with God without having the Bible as a buffer, without having the Bible as a middleman. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have a relationship with God. I'm going to work on trying to figure out what God is to me and how I can work with God to help me be more accessible to God and God more accessible to me. And realizing that God is everything. If science figures it out, God did it. So science comes out, evolution, okay, God did it. Good job, God. Put thumbs up, right? Mm-hmm. But religion says, no, God only did what's in a book. And I'm like, wait a second. God would never limit you to a book. Why do you have to limit God to a book? So I believe in taking that book out of the way and saying, how can I develop myself through meditation, through understanding? I did it through NDEs because I didn't want to know nuts and bolts how things worked. Mm-hmm. And then now a lot of things I do aren't because I feel like I should do them. I do it out of respect and responsibility because now I know how things work. Because you know it. I know it. Mm-hmm. I know this is the objective. When we get back home in heaven, this is what we're going to be. This is all that mattered in our past life review. All that mattered was how we treat others. So now I change my consciousness. Okay, do everything you can to create a good environment for others and for yourself. And whenever things go awry, do my best to turn the other cheek or try to find a calm solution out of it, because I don't want that negativity to be my legacy. Mm-hmm. When you go back home, I want to have good experiences, and I want to create as many as I can. And when you raise a situation, make it worse, that affects your whole day. You may not have a good situation the whole rest of the day, or maybe the whole rest of the week if it gets really bad. Well, we live in a cause and effect universe, so right. Absolutely. Right. So I always do my best to consciously try to figure ways to make situations better. Even if I have to come down off my horse and push my ego way down and apologize, even if I'm not right or wrong, doesn't matter. I did my best to bring the situation and bring it calm. And you know how I see that? I see that because the belief that you're going to come back to yes. do this experience again yes. in some form or another, but be the opposite of what you were experiencing. Mm-hmm. So if you're if you're having hatreds towards someone or mm-hmm. something, right. eventually you're going to come back to have that experience mm-hmm. of being hated or mm-hmm. looked at a certain way or right. something, right? Because right. that's that contrast. Right. That's karma right. to some people. Right. What you do unto others will be done unto you right. eventually, in some point. Maybe so not, that's yes. why when we have that understanding and that knowledge, mm-hmm. then we can make better choices, because why would I want to hurt you? Right. Knowing that eventually I'm going to know what that feels like. Right, because we go back, the past life review, you're going to yes. feel how you affected others. It doesn't mean that you're going to do it to me tomorrow. Right. It doesn't mean that in, 100 lifetimes, right. I'm not going to feel that or whatever that may be. Right. So wanting to create the best that we can for ourselves, for mm-hmm. other people, mm-hmm. helps us to live a happier and healthier time here on earth right now. I agree. And knowing that if I cause pain to somebody mm-hmm. or gave them a bad text or email mm-hmm. and said bad things to them, mm-hmm. I'm doing that to God. Absolutely. Because every soul is a direct representation of God. We may not know it because we get confused because we're in these vessels,
right?
Which, our bodies, which are indirect representations of God, right? The vibration of God will produce a form with a torso, 2 legs, arm, and a head. And so we are in God's image. But whenever I'm bad to a person, I am being literally bad to God, because that person, that soul that's in that body, is a piece of God. They may not realize at the moment, but I know that. And when we return back home, there's only we all return to source.
You're absolutely right. And I know that I have used that that belief and that knowledge and that wisdom in my life experience recently.
Really? That's great.
Yeah. And the more I can remember that truth, that God and I are one, and we are all one,
right,
I can come down from any human experience that's that's not of pleasure.
Yes.
Because come on, we're human, right?
Right.
We're a spiritual being having a human experience.
Right.
And with that comes triggers and challenges. It's all for our highest and best.
Right.
But how we choose to respond is what's going to create the experience.
Right. Right. And some souls have learned to respond delicately, gently, and some have not learned that yet. But they will eventually, because if they haven't and they're not doing that now, they will ask to come back and do it again until they do learn, until they learn that compassion and empathy and non-judgmental mentality that keeps us more grounded and helps us create better responses and memories.
Right, because we're here to create experiences and memories.
Right. And a lot of people think, God is up here and we're just down here as little things underneath God. And it's like, no, it's a symbiotic relationship. Yep. God created the earth. He created these vessels for us to learn in, like little vehicles. And then we enter them and we have the experiences for God. Because eventually, when we're like, yeah, we're done, we graduated, well, I learned unconditional love, all those memories become God's. So I choose not to watch certain things or do certain things because I'm like, this isn't cool. This isn't great for God. I know that at the end of the day, which may be a very long time from now, right? At the end of the day, I want to bring as much goodness and coolness and funness that I can to every experience that I can. Sometimes you got to go to work and you got to work over. It happens. But whenever I can produce a good experience, I want to bring that back.
And so that's why in our everyday lives, we can bring everything that we're talking about to our workplace, to the chores that we do,
Yes.
And that's why so many people can live. I lost my train of thought. Cancel it. Cancel the whole thing.
I know. No. You know what? I know exactly what you're saying because I do the same thing. When I put music on, it makes every mundane experience better. I do this all the time. I'm like, my go-to when I'm going to clean the kitchen is the Go-Go's Greatest Hits, right? Because it's upbeat music and it's happy and it brings back a memory of the 80s, or I was young and things were fun. It brings back a lot of memories of the skating rink and all kinds of stuff, and movies that came out at that time. And I'm just doing the dishes and I'm listening to the Go-Go's, having a good time. But we created that for ourselves. I can sit there and watch cable news and be all upset while I'm doing the dishes, or I can be upbeat and make that mundane task a little better for God.
Right, because you're shifting your vibration and you're having a better experience. You're creating a better memory for the experience next time.
True dat. So
True dat.
It's the word of the day. True dat. But yeah, I really hope that people understand that our goals are so simple. Just learn to love each other. Because when you learn to do that, and it may be a little bit of a difficult task at first, but when we do it, we'll be so much happier when we return back home, and we all return back home. That's just the way it is. So, you have anything to add to this, Brandi?
I just think that the more we can love ourselves, the more we can love each other, the better the experience is for all. And so it is.
And so it is. Always have love and laughter in your heart and keep moving forward. Thank you.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.